Fact, fantasy, and history have come together to tease the imagination.
I walked up to a cage, and this is what I found.
Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
I'm beyond upset and quite panicked because they may be just chickens, but they're family.
Brashears says her chickens were alive and well yesterday. She believes the smell following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her birds' sudden death.
My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died. If it can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what it's going to do to us in 20 years.
It's estimated more than 18,000 were killed in a massive explosion and fire at a dairy farm in the Panhandle. This is a look at what is left of that farm now in Dimmitt, northwest of Lubbock. One worker is sitting in the hospital right now. Officials still trying to figure out exactly what started that fire. Now, officials say a number of the animals survived Monday night's explosion and have been moved to a separate area. According to the Animal Welfare Institute, the blaze is the deadliest fire involving cattle since the team started tracking barn fires in 2013.
I can't get planning permission. Maybe I should buy an apron and join the Masons. I don't know what you have to do, but I simply can't get planning permission for anything, which is infuriating, but it's not just me, as it turns out. I thought it was, but farmers up and down the country are saying the same thing. As I'm sure you know, Tom, the basic farm payment scheme is being reduced dramatically. Mine's gone down from 80,000 to 60,000, goes down to 40,000 next year, and will eventually go to nothing at all. And the government has told farmers to diversify, to think of other ways of making money and not just to rely on taxpayer assistance. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll open a shop, I'll open a restaurant and sell my produce there. At local government, the local authority just says, no, you can't do that. So they're being told to diversify on the one hand and then told we can't diversify by local planners.
The first thing we see here is an array of cameras that listen to you and watch you. These are the facial recognition system. Now, cities are starting to be set up where they have points of entry for regions within cities. And you have to use your iPhone device to beep your way in. And the pad on the top there shows your face. It's facial recognition. So it opens the doors and things like that for you if it matches your face or if you don't have any problems. But if you are wanted by the police or something, these will lock you in so you can't move from region to region. Or if you use too much carbon. As you can see, this woman takes off her glasses, and that little device that looks like an iPhone, but it's actually a retina scanner or a facial scanner, picks up your face and then it will let you through. And then here's an example of how that works. You're at the gate here, it scans his face, and then there you go, it opens the gate. Now within the cities, they're blocked off by region, and these fences right here separate those areas. There's police, as you can see in front, that monitor and guard these areas between points. So if I'm over here where this guy is like region 1, region 2 is over here, right? But I have to go through a checkpoint. Now, of course, the police officers have these glasses that are facial recognition glasses. So it'll read license plates, and when you see somebody right here, it'll recognize the face and pull up their...
These beings God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
The demon was huge, and it came to me, and it was trying to have sex with me.
The divine right rule.
We therefore invite Mr. Sayer, Master of the Apple Tree Tavern, to take the chair as our first Grand Master.
The divine right rule.
The divine right rule. The divine right rule.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump. We're all cut from the same cloth.
Never just forgotten by the sons of the serpent that when they went to Atlantis, the most responsive ones were the females, and they were more like the chosen ones. And it is from this era of the ancient world, the pre-Diluvian age, that we have the cult of the priestess.
Marina Abramović.
We have the rise of the great patriarch.
Helena Blavatsky. Alice Bailey.
I bring it all together. I'm the beautiful one. I bring it all together beautifully.
Look how weird this is. Look at the guard on the right. What the hell was that?
Okay, so watch this. There it is. Sun's above your head and then it sets. One more time. That's exactly what is happening, okay? Let's change latitudes now and let's go to the North Pole. If you go to the North Pole, the North Star would be directly above your head at your zenith. So if this is the latitude of 45 degrees, because if the equator is here, this black line, that's 0 degrees. That's 45, which is right in the middle of 0 and 90 degrees. Okay? So the 45 degree parallel, the North Star is visible 45 degrees. The North Star would be here. Okay? So if you're at 90 degree north, the North Star is 90 degrees above your head. 40 degree, then it's 45 degrees above your head. Now if you're at the equator, the North Star would be directly 90 degrees. You wouldn't even be able to see the North Star if you go past the equator. See? Watch, I'm gonna show you. But first you're gonna see how it looks. See, now it arches. It's going this way because the sun is at the equator, but you're not at the equator. So the sun doesn't go directly above your head. It does this arc, it does a curve instead of a straight line. So the sun would never do a straight line at the North Pole, it would always go around you, and the sun would never do a straight line going above your head. The sun would always be turning at the horizon at the North Pole. So the sun never sets in Sweden and Scandinavia during the summer. It keeps going around the horizon, and it's never above the head or below the horizon, it's at the horizon. Sometimes it's twilight, where the sun is below the horizon, but even though it's below the horizon, you still get light, because it's not a ball. Well, peep this out, guys. This is very interesting here. Look what happens when we go past the equator, and we go to the South Pole. Boom. The South Pole is near the horizon. It's never above your zenith unless you go to the South Wall, which we're not allowed to go there. So no one ever takes pictures of the South Pole directly above your head except for the army, and that South Pole going the opposite direction is just a reflection. This dome is reflective, and as that turns this way, like that, this goes the other direction.
We've got our props, I believe you have yours too. This is awesome. So first of all, explain where your belief that the Earth is flat comes from.
Sure. My belief where the Earth is flat comes from 5 different reasons, real fast. One, long-distance photography, which is, if it is a globe, then we shouldn't be able to see as far as we can with high-def cameras. 2 would be gravity versus the vacuum of space, meaning the atmosphere should be sucked out into space almost instantly. The power of the vacuum cannot be defeated by gravity. 3rd would be the eclipse shadow. The eclipse shadow, it's the wrong size. The moon is 2,000 miles wide, and yet the moon shadow is only 70 miles wide. That's a 97% decrease. It can't happen. 4th would be the temperature of the moon, and I know we're pressed for time, so I'll rattle off real quick. The temperature of the moon. The moon generates a cold light. Look it up yourself. And 5th would be the Van Allen radiation belts. Van Allen radiation belts are super deadly. How did the American space program go through it? Round trips. Nobody even got cancer. There's still 5 of them walking around today. How's that?
I think you nailed it. Thanks for coming on.
Mark.
I'm in.
I do have a couple of other questions, Dave.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Like yourself, flat earthers believe that we are actually living in a dome. So can you explain to us how that works? And the ice,
right.
there's an ice wall, is that right?
Sure. Okay, so the mainstream globe proponents believe that you are on a little rock with water that sticks to the outside of it that's flying through 5 different directions, right? You can get rid of that. What we think is that you are living in a building, a structure, a planetarium, a terrarium, just like this. It's a little bit of a snow globe with walls and a floor and a ceiling, and that all the continents look pretty much the same with the exception of Antarctica, which is stretched around the entire outside, not like a Game of Thrones ice wall, but a very, very large continent that goes on for thousands of miles inland.
Yeah, so there's White Walkers out there. So then when I was growing up, right, when I was growing up, Mark, and we see shots of space, and we live in a solar system with planets, and all the planets are round.
Round.
So then how come we're flat and they're round? Right. Or am I not seeing the right
when
thing?
we see shots of the Earth from space, it's a sphere.
Well, there you go. Somebody's got to be lying. And if you believe the American space program, well, you have another thing coming. What I'm saying is that NASA has been fabricated since minute one to basically keep this thing under wraps. The sun and the moon and the stars and the planets are just part of a light show. No different than if you went to a planetarium and looked up on the ceiling. I mean, the technology is much, much better. We've been doing planetariums since the 1970s. But can I remember, we've only had HD technology for the last 20 years. Imagine what we could do in the next 100. So whoever built this, way more advanced than us.
Wait, who built it?
Well, take your pick.
Aliens?
It's one of two things. It's either a highly advanced, either an advanced civilization. I don't like to call them aliens because I don't believe in that they come from Mars or Venus or Saturn. I think they're older versions of us. But if it's not some sort of advanced civilization, well, then it's the divine, and one man's advanced tech is another man's deity, so take your pick.
So, but Mark, if this is indeed the case, why would so many people be in a conspiracy to convince us that the Earth is round? Why wouldn't we just go, okay, well, the Earth is a dome?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and that's a great question, because what we're talking about here, and by the way, I don't think that people had anything to do with this thing. All I'm saying is that the United States government and the Soviet Union figured this in about 1960. Even our best and brightest couldn't figure this out until about 1960. And then there comes the question, and I know you as journalists think, oh, you should tell the people. It's like, don't jump to conclusions, because there's three things that could happen. Potentially, all your academia would be turned upside down. All your physical sciences would have to rebuild from the ground up. Your world markets would have to be suspended for months to figure out where the dust settles. And then, of course, the 5 religious houses all of a sudden have an advance over science, which they haven't for the last 5 centuries. That's a lot to take in for a civilization.
But science moves on.
Fantasy and history have come together to tease the imagination.